Hello, everybody. This is the Section 214 of BC Lions podcast. I'm your host, Ascent, and we've just got JS here today. Uh, Hammer is out out for a baseball vacation in Chicago right now, so he wasn't able to watch the game with us or no, really just join us. I mean, he's eating somewhere in a restaurant, but yeah. So, but he'll be back for us for the next week. But yeah, yeah. Today a lot has happened in the past week between our last episode and today. Unfortunately, well, half of it was good for us, but the other half is being today's game, and that was we'll get into that pretty soon, but yeah, I guess we'll just start out with by saying that Nathan Rourke, our Canadian MOP of 2022, he's signed with the BC Lions after bouncing around a bunch of different NFL teams on practice roster. He signed with us for a 3-year contract worth $750K per. So that's a very, very lucrative contract as far as CFL quarterbacks go, and
Probably
uh,
highest paid or one of the highest paid players in league history at this rate.
league history, yeah. Um,
But I guess to get him to come back to the CFL, that's the kind of money you need to put up. And I think we can all agree that without Amar Doman here, this probably doesn't happen. And he deserves
yeah,
a lot of the credit for, writing that check, footing that bill to make this happen.
I agree with that, and I mean, of course, before today, I mean, we were super hyped about this, right? I mean, we saw Jake Dolegala put a yeoman's effort in the loss against the Elks, and I mean, he's relegated to third stringer now, but yeah, he was.
Well, they cut him.
Oh no! Oh no! No! They cut him, right? Oh right, I
Yeah.
forgot. I forgot. I posted the Andy drops Woody in Toy Story. It's like I don't want to play with you anymore, right?
In this case, literally, as in they dropped him into the recycling bin because they cut him.
Yeah, cut him. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's just Lions legend Jake Dolegala, right? Yeah. I did put the title from the last episode being the panic button, and this felt like Amar Doman like pushing the panic button. Like we got to get our MOP quarterback back just to instill confidence in this offense, right?
And well, that did
And
not happen today. Today's
it
game did
didn't.
anything but that.
No. uh, yeah, we'll get into that too. But another docket that I want to talk about with you is the command center is having no dues the past
Oh
couple
my
weeks, right?
goodness gracious. The kind of stuff I've been reading about them has been insane. They've been widely criticized for their decisions, and it's not good because like we'll to get into it, the command center originally was supposed to come in and correct really obvious mistakes that were materially impacting games. And right now they seem to have kind of exceeded that role a bit and are just getting calls flat out wrong at times.
Times. I mean, I also have heard from some fans that they actually want an audio recording, well, to be recording command center audio to hear the guys discuss the call, right? So we can hear their line of thought, right? But
I
all we
have
could
no
do is
problem with that.
video. I would like to see that happen too, but I mean, it's kind of like, well, it might be wishful thinking. It's just like getting NHL referees to come in for post-game comments, right? Yeah. Sorry, there was a little pause there. Um, so as we were leaving off, yeah, it's just I feel like there should be an audio. I agree with some fans.
Oh,
There
I,
should be an
I agree
audio
with that
recording.
completely.
Yeah,
Even if you only
and
release it after the fact, maybe you don't have to do it live during the game, but release it after every game. Like that kind of transparency is good. The NBA does it with close games. I don't know what the point mark is, but like games end within 5 or 10 points, the last 2, 3 minutes of the game, they analyze every single call that was made and explain why the call was made. And the NBA and the NFL also make the referees available after games. And that kind of transparency, at least with the command center, I think would be really good.
Yeah, to kind of follow that trend, right? And I mean, yeah, we'll see if that happens. I mean, if there's enough of an uproar, like if the command center keeps constantly making egregiously uh bad calls, I mean, yeah, they're gonna hear about it. I mean, I'd say, I mean, it's varying degrees of controversy. The big controversy was the Saskatchewan Ottawa. I'd say the Saskatchewan Ottawa tie game.
That was dreadful. The
uh,
command center directly caused the tie because first it was in overtime. Saskatchewan had the ball. They were trailing by a touchdown. They were stopped on third down, challenged for pass interference. The call probably shouldn't have been reversed
it
because
should
you
it,
had
it
to
should have been an
slow it.
Ottawa win,
Yeah,
right?
it should have been because yeah, they had to
At
like if
first,
you have to slow replay down to like turtle speed to see if he arrives a split second early, which I don't even know if he did, but if you have to slow it down that much, then let the play go. That's what I say. And so they reversed that. Saskatchewan
and
ties
then
the game. Then
yeah,
the
and
roughing the
then
passer.
yeah, and then the roughing the passer for Ottawa to keep their drive alive to tie the game, literally.
Because if they don't call that, then Saskatchewan would have won, but they called a roughing the passer when they shouldn't have. So they directly impacted the outcome of that game. We had both sides howling at them.
Yeah, in overtime, right? I mean, overtime is usually it's like the highest stakes, obviously the highest stakes period, right? But it's a little bit low. Well, yeah, the second degree of controversy was the Montreal win, where Davis Alexander ran it in for the game-winning touchdown, and there's been some screen caps of his foot touching the line, but I mean, I think that Alexander's foot just stopped right before the line, and then as he was lifting his foot up to run, that's when his foot slid over to the to the white stripe, right? But I mean, kind of
I mean, it's a tough call. To me,
it's
though,
a
it looked
tough
like
call, yeah.
as his foot was on the ground and shifting,
It was
and then the foot
inside
lifted up. Well, his foot was shifting and lifted up off the ground, and at that point, you could see white pellets of grass moving, which that
the
in that
chalk.
case, what I would say common sense would tell you that means his foot touched the white.
That's the what, yeah, but I mean, it's yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, calling the field was a touchdown. I mean, you needed to have like a clear uh evidence, and again, the camera just wasn't high def enough just to zoom in and just enhance and to do that, right? But I mean, yeah, I mean, we're at the time we're grateful for it that Montreal won that game, right? But
Of course.
yeah, I guess it's oh yeah, and of course the third one, which is Calgary's, well, the Calgary Toronto game 2 weeks ago, where Calgary thought they had a fumble return for a touchdown, but they yeah, the refs and then the command center ruled that as just a fumble, like right where it happened, right? There was no, I mean, if it was ruled a fumble return for a touchdown, then yeah, it would have been a no issue there. But because it was, I mean, it should have been a fumble return for a touchdown, but it was ruled just a fumble at the spot the gain, right? So
Yeah.
um yeah, and that also affected the game too, because yeah, again, Toronto won that game by yeah, by 14 points roughly. So yeah, or 15 points. So yeah, it's it did turn. If I remember correctly, that happened in the first half. So I think yeah, it did change the game there too. But yeah, that was um yeah.
But you
So
know
no,
what? It didn't like the command center did have a controversy in this game, which we'll get into, but it didn't affect the outcome. So yeah, I guess with that we can move into our gut check,
gut
which
check. Yeah,
really a gut punch.
no, actually, I'm gonna go lower than that. It's more like a kick, a gut kick, right? Just
Yeah.
the hard, much. It's a much harder force to really knock the wind out of us, right? I mean, Oh, this was an opportunity again with BC to take over for first place in the West,
Would they would have
right?
had sole possession of it had they won.
And it would have pushed Winnipeg back down to be like a third tier. Uh, yeah,
Third tier team, but
yeah, third tier team. I mean, it would have had the record tied with the Elks at this point, which would have been crazy to think about before this season, right? But
but
uh,
it was like what I say from it is, it's understandable that Rourke would have been a little bit rusty after only 3 practices. That's really not a lot. They said on the broadcast after the game, that he's had all these different playbooks bouncing around in his head with, being on 3 or 4 different NFL teams now, the BC Lions. So like I get it that it's reasonable he wouldn't have been totally, amazing right away, but what we saw from him today simply was not good enough. He made a couple of really poor decisions, some of which
on
resulted in,
interceptions, yeah.
and there were some other plays that were almost interceptions, which were poor decisions. The offensive line had a bit of a letdown. Maybe some of that's due to the chemistry that with the new quarterback, but multiple times he was, pressured and hurried, which
Yeah,
was,
I was most disappointed with the receivers, though. I mean, there was,
that was the
I mean, there were drops, there drops, and especially touchdown drops, and that could have really swung the momentum. I mean, and of course, just unable to take advantage of any kind of momentum done by the defense when they had
the
like a
defense was
turnover on
fantastic,
downs, and then
honestly.
yeah, yeah. I mean, again, this, uh,
The defense is the reason this ended 20-11 and the score looks respectable.
respectable. Well, yeah, and yeah, the game was within reach for the majority of the game, right? But it was just it. I mean, I don't think even with Adams at quarterback, I mean, I don't think they would have. I mean, the offensive struggles have just been a consistent theme for the past month now. I mean,
Yeah,
I said to you guys something broke after that Saskatchewan game, like after that
yeah.
win. It feels like, and I mean,
I don't know, but like
what happened? I mean, every time I'm asking myself what happened to this offense, right? Like the
one player
receivers.
change isn't going to fix it. Ultimately, he can get people excited, but even that I'm hearing didn't happen. Like I heard apparently on the pregame broadcast on CKW, it was noted that some of the players haven't really fully gelled with Rourke yet because they were very, what's the word, attached, they very felt loyal to Vernon Adams. And there might be a little bit of resentment about, Rourke just getting to come on and have the starter's job handed on a silver platter, which is more or less what it appears like.
Uh,
Like
I I I mean, yeah, it's a theory, yeah, but I'm gonna dismiss that a little bit because I think I mean it did come out that well, I mean Vaughn and Adams and Rourke were texting each other, and Adams was really fine with being relegated to be the backup, right? But
I mean,
no,
he kind of has no choice in the
he had
matter.
no choice. I mean, he's
I mean, he's probably not happy about it, but he's an
post.
amazing human being, so he'll
Yeah,
he'll be the biggest person
he's
for the sake of the
100% a
team.
team player. Yeah, he's 100% a
Yeah,
team player. Right? That's what you want. I mean, that's the kind of veteran leadership you need on a team. Right? Like he puts his ego aside and just says, okay, just for the better of the team. I don't want to be a diva. I don't want to be on Rodgers.
yeah.
Right?
So like
Uh,
he's not going to make this all about himself, but I don't think for a second we should be pretending that he's all super thrilled about this because he
yeah.
probably is not, and if that's true, I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I think, well, I mean, and certainly, I mean, before we get into the statistics of this loss, I will say this. I mean, like, Work did have, I mean, he had as rusty, well, I mean, as like a little bit better of a game than Adams, but again, both games, it's just minimal difference, right? I mean, it was just
at this point, yeah, he had some
at this
strong
point,
run, a few stronger plays later in the game where he evaded some pressure. But in the end, it didn't result in much of anything. So, hopefully he'll be better next week with a full week of practice behind him.
full week of practice, and yeah, and then Ottawa's another tough opponent, right? I mean, Just
Yeah, so
uh yeah. But
you know,
again,
reason to be
I
optimistic.
yeah, yeah, a little optimistic. I mean, the defense is, I mean, again, they're doing no better than this, but I mean, just when you come from 5-1 down to 5-5, I mean, it's really easy to just start dooming and start. I look at the teams I cheer for, and it's easy for me to start dooming and glooming them. And hell, wearing the Canucks shirt today because
Exactly.
my depressing shirt is in the wash, so I decided to just put this out. Right? It's another blue shirt, but it's not. But I'm not, giving up on the season and going, I can't wait for hockey season to start now. Right? No, no, I'm not
No.
that. I'm not that reactionary. Right? It's just, uh, but
But you know, it's just up taking a quick look at the standings. It's wild that three out of the top four teams in the league standings are from the East right now, which is just
yeah,
crazy.
it's a complete reversal of just conference dominance now from what we've been used to for 10 years or so. Right?
If
uh,
not for Hamilton having a pretty dreadful year, you know, the East crossover would be a realistic threat for the first time ever, but Hamilton's not going to be good enough to get it done. So because they're a full 2 games back of Winnipeg, and they would have to cross over. You would have to be ahead of Winnipeg, not tied with
Ahead of
them.
Winnipeg,
So
yeah.
the Hamilton is a full 3 games out of the crossover, and they've only got 8 games to make that up. So that's not happening.
Yeah, it's a very slim possibility. So,
But you know what?
uh,
That's okay. I guess we can get into the stats now.
yeah, and I'll say that. Yeah, it's just again, there was a lot of hype for the signing, like right out of the gate, and I thought, and in the back of my head, I thought, oh, it's kind of dangerous because, again, it's Winnipeg that we're playing, and Winnipeg's at our number, and continues. So yeah, I guess, yeah, last time for the statistic, it was just me saying it, but I'll start it out here. Yeah, so Nathan Rourke went 8 for 25.
Yikes.
126 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. 5 yards on average per throw, and the longest was 39. Uh, went had 27 rushing yards on 4 carries as well. So
The rushing stats aren't terrible.
yeah, but again, just 8 for 25. Again, it's even with Adams back to probably. I mean, just with the way Winnipeg was playing defense today. I mean, I don't think any quarterback would have been able to have good stats like that. Right? Just
Nope.
yeah, it was just unfortunate timing, right? Just for I mean, again, and what makes it even more frustrating is that Winnipeg is coming off their bye week into this game, just like we did the last time, but they were on the winning end of it, right? So, uh, I did put Bryce's stats here at the garbage time quarterback again. He went 6 for 6, 59 yards, and yeah, 9.8 on average. So, I mean, again, go call where you were for garbage time, but I mean, like that's.
That's still a nice showing and a little effort, little chance he gets to play at the end. He led the only touchdown drive of the game for the Lions, so you know, good for him.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, it's like one. Uh, yeah, that was the one kind of little glimmer of optimism. The other glimmer of optimism I found was Stanback, the running back, had 15 carries for exactly 100 yards, and he was running for 6.7 on average, and the longest one was 17. So, I mean, he had he had a much better game in this one, right? But again. Just we have 100-yard rusher on a game that for the most part there was only a field goal scored, right? So yeah, can't complain about Stanback either, right? But yeah, the receivers. I mean, I mentioned it in the gut check. I'll mention it here. I mean, the receivers there again just contributing to the disappointment. Yeah, Hollins only had 2 catches on 5 targets for 50 yards. And his longest catch was 39. And McInnes had 4 catches on 10 targets. So Walker's throwing it a lot to McInnes, right?
Oh, I'm just hearing here from Hammer
Oh,
Fan in our Discord chat. He just posted an update that said Rourke did an interview and apologized for his poor play. So that's something we should note as well. So even he is recognizing it.
Yeah, I'm sure he. Yeah, I'm sure he even he's like, yeah, that's not my. That's not the best game he played. I mean, he has. I mean, even in his MLP season, I mean, there was definitely a loss or two where wasn't his best game. But yeah, this is probably his worst game at the Lions for sure, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
again, it was under different circumstances. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, McInnes. I mean, he got a lot of targets, but only 4 catches, so 10 targets for 41 yards and 10.3 on average. Then Aberhart had 2 catches and 3 targets for 45 yards, 22.5 on average. His longest was 32. So Aberhart, I mean, I'd say he was, the best receiver from what he did, right? But he had the better completion percentage, right? But not much. uh, yeah, Hatcher only had the 1 catch for 18 yards, and then Couture had 3 catches on 5 targets for 19 yards. So yeah, I mean, it's just again only marginally better yardage stats for the receivers, but it was still, I mean, again, it's just been a consistent theme that the receivers are not having explosive plays like they did before the Calgary loss, right? Um, man, whatever's cursing the receivers right now, somebody's got to get an exorcist in that in there, right? Just uh yeah, and then yeah, that's it for the offense. But for the defense, I mean, again, the defense played the one of the better games, right? But I mean, it was still uh,
Still
yeah,
not good
I'm
enough.
sure. Yeah, Phillips is probably still get really frustrated with how the defense was doing their best and nothing really to show for it, especially after an interception or a turnover, right? But yeah, the defense got 2 sacks. The Hema got the 2 sacks, right, on his own. That's pretty good. And then yeah, TJ Lee got the 1 interception, no fumbles, and 1 turnover on downs. And I also saw that Varga had 10 tackles, and then everybody else had less than 4. So Varga was flying around in the field making tackles. Right, so I mean, in terms of raw stats, I mean, the defense did everything they could, right, to just keep it respectable, and they did, right?
Mhm.
um, yeah. So yeah, on special teams, Sean White got a field goal in there. So compared to no field goals and no attempts, he just got the one, right? So that was the one score he did with work under center until the garbage time TD, and then yeah, Flintoff for punting, he had 7 punts, averaging 48.4 yards for 339 yards total. So yeah, you don't want to be seeing your punter out that often kicking almost 3.5 football field length worth of kicking, right? So yeah, and then yeah, Williams, I mean,
Same old, same old.
same old, just 6 return catches on special teams. I mean, it was 3 punt returns and 3 kickoff returns. For a total of like 102 yards with an average of 22 for kickoff returns and 12 for punt returns. So I mean, again, I did notice. I mean, there was definitely one. I want to say it was one punt return where if he had missed one more tackler, I mean, I think he would have gone for significantly more yardage. But I mean, I've been saying that for a long time. I mean, it's it's starting to get it's starting to look more like it's less unluckiness and more just poor decision making on special team returns, just on the last second. I just
Unfortunately,
uh
yeah.
yeah. Of course, I mean Barry Hill also got his hand in the special team for 2 punt returns, but it was only for like 8 yards. So
So not really much of
yeah,
anything.
not much of anything. I mean, not on the receivers or
No,
yeah, the
that's
special teams. Yeah, it was just stand back that had the strongest. He was the strongest player on the offense, but No, I'd like to see a lot more from the receivers, right? Like there needs to there needs to be something done about the dropped balls and just the overflows and stuff like that, right? But
There
yeah,
really does, but
uh,
you know, yeah. I guess I'll breeze through the Winnipeg stats. Not much that we really need to highlight, but Zach Collaros was 23 for 23 for 31, 288 yards, one touch and one interception, longest 37 yards. So a good day for him. Strevler had a touchdown, 6 carries for 16 yards rushing. And Oliveira, strong as
Brady
always,
Oliveira.
78 yards on 10 carries. Longest was 25. That's
I am so
another great
glad we
effort
don't
from
have.
him.
I am so glad we don't have to see Winnipeg anymore. We don't
Yeah,
see
that's it.
Oliveira anymore. At least in the regular season. I mean, watch, we're gonna face them in the playoffs again.
I'm sure we
Oh,
will. But
God damn it.
then with this receivers, Dembski 6 catches on 7 targets, 109 yards for a touchdown. Lawler 4 catches for 54 yards. Whitehead 4 catches, 39 yards. Wilson 3 catches for 43 yards. These are all really, really excellent stats. And then Clarcius 2 catches for 19 yards. Like these are just amazing stats from
Yeah,
the
and in fact,
offense.
Lalo came back from injury for this game, and yeah, he had 54 yards, and even caught like a 34-yard catch for his longest. Right? I mean, that was yeah. When those guys come back from injury, I mean, they're firing on cylinders. Right? It's annoying.
And then with the
And
defense, they had 2 sacks from Woods and Jefferson, then 2 interceptions. Nichols and Ford caused those, and again, those poor throws from Rourke. And then on defense, Tony Jones will highlight him 5 tackles. And then special teams, Castillo 2 for 3 on field goals. That one miss meant everybody in the stands went home with a free slice of pizza, so good for them. Two for
yeah,
two on extra points.
yeah.
And then
Hammer would have loved to be in that game for that at least, right?
yep.
Get
And
fed.
then and then for punts, Sheehan 5 punts, 45.6 yards. On their punt returns, Lucky Whitehead had 7 returns for 65 yards, and Augustine 1 kickoff return for 19 yards. And then the penalties, there were not a lot of penalties in the game, which was nice to three for 35 against the Lions, 3 penalties for 35 yards against the Lions, 4 for 57 for Winnipeg. The time of possession, BC did improve in this game. They only Winnipeg had it for 32-34, which compared to the last time these two teams played is a lot better.
Yeah.
27-26 possession for the Lions.
Yeah, again, I'm shocked. Like, again, it felt like Winnipeg had a lot more time of possession. Yeah, at least it felt like to me that Winnipeg once again had a lot more time of possession, but I thought it was a lot wider than what the stats showed, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I
So
guess we
yeah,
can
I
go into our
guess
game recap. There's not a
a
ton
game.
exciting stuff to talk about, but let's mention some of the important parts of the game.
Yeah, I'll mention. Well, yeah, for one thing, I'll mention that. Well, just the extracurriculars that the broadcast mentioned. I, I mean, before the game started, it was said that yeah, BC had a 5 point favor, were like had a 5 point swing in a favor as soon as work was signed, right, compared to before, which I was like, oh boy, it's either gonna be really disappointing for the better. They're just, I mean, not that I'm into that, but I just found that intriguing. But yeah, I mean, BC. Yeah, on their first drive, I mean, work looked good to start on the first drive, right? Even if it didn't result in any points, I mean, yeah, Aberhart had a conversion for 11 for on the first pass, the first play of the game, right? That was a conversion, and like okay, yeah, he's getting going, and then the stand back had a run for 14, and but yeah, then just there was a punt that happened, and then Lucky Whitehead did nearly fumbled the ball away on the punt return, right? But yeah, he recovered it. But I was, yeah, I was hoping that it would be an immediate fumble, but no. Then of course, the TSN showed that Mike O'Shea was one win away from number 100 of his career. So
He got that
obviously
today.
he got it. Yeah. So congratulations to him,
Absolutely.
begrudgingly. uh, yeah. Was well respected as words due. So I mean, yeah. Uh, Yeah, so I mean, well, on Winnipeg's first drive, it was a touchdown drive, but it was marred with a bunch of with a roughing the passer penalty,
which I
and then
was not terribly thrilled with that call, but wasn't going to get overturned on review, so
yeah, I
it is
said
what
by
it
the
is.
letter, I said by the letter of the law that with a roughing the passer call, but I mean like it was a soft one, right? It was kind of uh
He didn't really get him in the head much, if at all.
yeah, not much. I mean, it was only like a tap to the head, right? But it was yeah, it
Yeah.
was again letter of the law that's roughing the passer. So yeah, and then a bunch of long passes, 10 plus yards from Claros. Uh, in the red zone, Claros did get sacked by Tama for a lot of five, but then second and very long, and then he throws it to Dembski. Like it was well, there was double coverage on Dembski, but Claros threw the ball over them just enough for Dembski to catch it over his shoulder, right? So it's just a perfectly placed throw that allowed Winnipeg to score that 7-0 lead. Claros went 5 for 6 on that drive, so I mean that was kind of like another omen of things to come in the game where it was just
Near
yeah, and
perfection.
Claros was more annoying was annoying as like as an efficient passer, not he's not all about the big yardage like Adams is, but he's more about efficiency, and that was shown on that first touchdown drive.
And then I guess I
Yeah,
can mention what happened after. There wasn't a lot exciting to happen. Williams had a good kickoff return after that. And then McInnes made an 11-yard catch, but then another incompletion, which quickly, as Eberhardt, he made another drop, and that led to a punt. And then Winnipeg went 2-and-out after that.
yeah, much better
And then
defense on that one with
and then the Lions only got 2 more first downs, and Rourke got sacked. Another punt, and then after that, eventually there was another punt after a few first downs from Winnipeg. Oliveira 13 yards, Green 12 yards. But then after that, there was a punt, or Winnipeg punted the ball, and Berryhill returned it and fumbled it at the 18-yard line to end the quarter. And
and a
then
quarter.
luckily we come back from the commercial break that
Yeah,
they had reversed the
between
fumble.
yeah, I was gonna say between the commercial break. I mean, I was saying oh, I hope that's not a fumble, right? And yeah, it turned out it wasn't up on review.
I don't know if the call
Uh,
was right or not because they didn't really show a replay, but it's nice for the Lions to get that break. And Stanbeck
hmm,
had a nice
30
long run,
yard run roughly
30
for
yards to convert on second down. And then eventually, though, unfortunately, Rourke was nearly intercepted by Ford. And on the very next play, he made a really poor throw that did get
no.
intercepted.
Uh, like we had our breath for that near interception, and then what just throws an interception anyways to Nichols, and then we're gonna oh my god, this is the last game all over again, right? It was at that point in the game where I'm thinking, man, BC might get shut out again. Because in the chat I said I highly doubt we get shut out again, right? We were close to it was close to happening, right? And yeah. Uh
It almost did happen, though. It took until later in the game for us to get any points. But luckily, after
yeah,
the
after
after the pick,
Winnipeg
it
screwed
didn't
yeah,
result in
after
anything because Castillo kicked the ball off the upright, doink,
Doink.
and that kept
Uh
it at 7-0. And then it again didn't really result in much. Eberhardt made a second
Yeah,
down catch,
that was the
and
first instance of that was the first instance of many where it was just it was a possible inflection point for BC to turn the offense around, and just nothing happened after that, right? It was just although yeah, Aberhart, I mean, converted a first down for 16, but then
the next play he
yeah,
did it again, but then there was a holding.
holding, and then yeah, holding hurt the drive. I mean, Work ran it, but it wasn't enough, and then they had to punt. Right? The 18, and then the illegal block penalty and pushed Winnipeg back to 8. Right? And then we're thinking like, okay, if the defense can stop them here, we'll get like really good field position. But unfortunately,
It didn't result in anything. Winnipeg Winnipeg was at about midfield on 3rd and inches, which they got, but then you rarely see this on 3rd and inches. The offense was penalized for offside, and as a result, it went from
Offside,
third
yep.
and inches to 3rd and 6, and they had to punt to the Lions, get another break. Really, honestly, that's a turnover. Of course, like it's in all effects a turnover, forcing the Lions to get a possession when they weren't expected to it. But then it went to a 2-and-out, and this was, the most funny part of the game for me. Flintoff's
Yeah.
punt hit the jumbotron, and the ref said the punt hit the jumbotron, which was very odd.
The
That
part the
kind of
jumbotron. They had to redo it. But like
had to
I
redo
was
the
dreading.
play.
Yeah, I didn't know the rule about redoing a punt if it hits the jumbotron or just anything above. Like I thought, oh God, Winnipeg is getting the ball at like the 50 or the 40-yard line, right? They're just
Yeah,
like right where the ball hit the jumbotron. But no, it was a redo of a punt. Like that was kind of a silly moment
that
though.
was that was funny. We love Ben Major. He's my favorite referee, I'll be honest. But then in the end, Whitehead returned the next punt to the 37, and overall, the Winnipeg had to punt pretty quickly after that. But then Rourke got picked off. It was a pick six, but there was holding after the catch, so it was not a pick six. But then in the end,
Yeah.
Oliveira made a good run, and this turned into a field goal to make it 10-0 at halftime, which,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah, basically had like one play with 2 seconds left, but yeah, it was just Wood didn't have the arm strength to do like a Hail Mary kind of thing with 2 seconds left at this point in the game. So yeah, it was kept at 10-0 at the half, and then of course I put halftime screen caps. Yeah, it was just a lot of
not much exciting there. A lot of incompletions, a lot of picks, a lot of Winnipeg dominated stats.
yeah, and I mean obviously that'll continue in the second half here where it's yeah, then Winnipeg gets the kickoff and yeah, Whitehead returned it to the 30, and then on this drive, it was just there was a turnover on down for Winnipeg. I mean, Srevler ran on second down, and then on 3rd and 1, he tripped over his own lineman's leg to force a turnover on downs. Right, when it was
Another break for the Lions right there.
on the 34, right? Like that was a huge stop, right? Like had they converted on that, it probably would have opted for a field goal attempt, right? But yeah, no points. So yeah, that was another inflection point where BC could have turned it around here, but yeah, yeah, it was gosh, yeah, yeah, Mackey did convert on a 3rd and 2, right? Well, the commentary did say that, oh, if I was the coach, I should have kicked it here, but yeah, just Rick Campbell took a gamble on it and it worked for Mackey to convert on 3rd down. But yeah, just after that, it
Didn't
was
result in anything. They had to
didn't
punt
result in
anyway.
anything. They had to punt anyway, right? So,
It was just a waste of time. And then,
uh,
but then this
uh,
eventually led to Winnipeg's next touchdown. Wilson made a 15-yard play. Claircius made a nice catch for 7.
yeah, yeah, on a float pass, right? That was
Which
it was
was
it was like a slow, floaty pass, but still managed to catch it, right? Which was frustrating.
the biggest one there was a 30-yard pass from Collaros to Dembski, which ultimately quickly resulted in the touchdown from Strevler. And we were just about ready to give up at that point, but we did stick around because, Williams had a good return on the kickoff after that to the 37-yard line. And this is where we had a weird play where Stanbeck fumbled the ball. I don't think he was down, but in the end, Winnipeg tried to challenge it because they ruled him down. But the refs informed him that BC recovered the ball, so it wouldn't have mattered if it was a fumble. So Winnipeg
You
was able to
retain their challenge. Yeah,
retain their challenge, which, that was fair. And then this is where we really had the only good play of the game, honestly. Hollins made a 45-yard pass on a deep throw, and this is the kind of stuff we want to see from Rourke in the
yeah,
future. And let's hope that, with another week of practice, he can get into this. And
yeah. He
then
has more of that against Ottawa. Yeah,
the
that's
only
it.
chance that Lions had really to get a meaningful touchdown in the game, McInnes made a catch in the end zone, but just a chunk of his foot caught the white stripe, so it was rightly called incomplete, and they had no points in 3 quarters, no points
Yeah,
in 7 straight quarters against the Bombers.
yeah, that was the last play of the game, right? Like, could have been we could have had it where Winnipeg would only shut BC out for 6 quarters instead of 7. But yeah, the very first play of the fourth quarter, yeah, with the field goal scored by well, after Rourke got sacked on second down,
The
right?
second, the
Because
second play, he
yeah,
got a field goal to make it 17-3. And then immediately after that, TJ Lee intercepts Caleros and gives the Lions the ball in their own 45. Really good field position, momentum. That's your chance to get right back in the game. 14 points with, 10 minutes to go. You can come back from that easily. It's happened before. But
14 minutes. Yeah.
unfortunately, boom, 2 and out. And then right after that, this is when eventually it became 20-3 when Oliveira ran for 11 yards and then 25 yards, which led to the 43-yard field goal to make it 20-3. And then I guess something I want to touch on really quickly was after that, the Lions got down to third and medium, roughly, within field goal range, and they were debating on the broadcast whether to kick the field goal to make it a two-score game, and I would have right there. There were still, 6-7 minutes left to get two more possessions. I would have kicked the field goal there. They decided to go for it. Pass to the end zone. Hatcher caught it. His foot was in bounds, but unfortunately, he didn't survive contact with the ground.
Ground, yeah. I was also gonna say my thought was I disagreed. I mean, I thought it was three down football from here, considering how you know more lifeless overall the offense was, and just how how good well, I mean, BC's defense was good in this game. Like I still think that you know I thought it was a good call to go for because I thought it was three down football from here on out because uh um but then again I'm not a coach, but yeah but yeah they went for it. It wasn't meant to be anyways. So yeah, I was just couldn't get that touchdown on the third
In the
down.
end, there was the garbage time touchdown, but honestly, who cares? It wasn't much to talk about.
Yeah, after that incompletion turnover, I stopped updating with my notes, right? Because yeah, I did watch the game uh the whole way through, right? Just to see when the CFL website would update their stats so I could plug the stats in, right? But yeah, so yeah, in the end, I said BC disappoints all of us, like us, the fans, and the wider Canadian Football League fan, or well, yeah, the wider CFL fan base. I mean, except for Winnipeg fans, obviously, are thrilled with how great they played coming off the bye week, right? But yeah, we're just heavily disappointed with this. I mean, again, garbage time touchdown. They fell to 2011, which I thought was fitting considering
The last time they won the Grey Cup, and they beat the Bombers in that game.
beat the Bombers in BC place. Like again, we're hosting the Grey Cup. I mean, again, it just felt poetic that we lose but by this score, and of course by extension, yeah, BC drops to 500, 5-5, and then Winnipeg improves to 4-6, and yeah, the West got a whole lot tighter now with Edmonton winning, and yeah, Winnipeg winning, and I mean, thankfully, yeah, Calgary lost their game this week, I believe. Yeah, so yeah, uh,
Guess we can touch
it
quickly on the
it
other games
could
there.
it could have been a lot. It could have been a lot worse from the out of town scoreboard, but yeah, we'll accept Saskatchewan and Calgary losing. But again, it would have been nice for us to win this one, right? Just to capitalize on the hype. But I mean, just the hype just died down for at least one game. I do think Rourke. I mean, again, it was mentioned in the post game press. I mean, he felt very disappointed about his effort, right? And I do believe in him. I think he will have a bounce back game against Ottawa. I mean, even if it was also a loss, I mean, I'm hoping he gets at least two or three touchdown passes in, right? Just when he has full week of practice in, right? So yeah,
We can quickly
yeah,
touch on the other games. I guess the Montreal Saskatchewan, we kind of touched on it already. But Ottawa, Calgary, I didn't really watch that one. What happened in that one?
uh, yeah, Ottawa, Calgary. That was what the Red Blacks had leads, right, and then Calgary took the lead late in the game, but then Ottawa had a clutch last minute drive from Jeremiah Masoli to force Lewis Ward to kick a walk off field goal, which he's used to doing now. Right? He's done that a bunch this year. Uh, that was a thrilling game for me to watch. Right, I was like, yes. Yeah, it's funny. We're gonna go from being, friends with Ottawa, and then the next 2 weeks it's just gonna be I hate Ottawa. Just kind of just besmirching the Senators back there, but just the football team. I'm like, okay, I don't want to hate you right now, but I mean, we gotta have these wins, right? uh, yeah. So yeah, Ottawa had a clutch field goal to win the game in the last second, and then Alouettes Rough Riders, much the same. Well, I mean, much the same flavor. Where it was, yeah, again controversial. Davis Alexander game-winning touchdown run, right? But I that was a comeback win for Montreal too. Yeah, the Rough Riders had the lead late again, and then yeah, the Alouettes took it back. And then oh yeah, also Brett Lawver um missed a bunch of field goals too, right? He went 4 for 7. Right, it was I think it was 4 for 7. Yeah, I missed a bunch of field goals, including the one that would have tied the game up, right? And yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
so
just
like they
I mean,
can't
Riders
blame they
fans.
ultimately can't blame the command center for the loss. He kicks a bit better, that iffy touchdown doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, if he had nailed most of his field goals, I mean, yeah, it wouldn't have mattered, right? It would have been a tight win, right? But yeah, just you can't be too salty about refereeing or the command center one. I mean, it was just the kicker that wasn't up to snuff in this one. And then and then the Elks and Tiger Cats. I didn't watch that game at all, right?
I
But
watched a little bit of it, but Edmonton just came in there, blew them out. Hamilton is, a terrible football team, and there's not much we can say about it.
yeah,
So
dude. Yeah, now well, I mean, it's funny. I mean, we were talking of how the Elks were the worst run team in the league. I mean, now it's kind of shifted over to Hamilton being the worst team in the league now by far, right? But it's amazing what a coaching change can do for Edmonton,
yeah, really, I know,
right?
man. But and then I guess next week we've got Saskatchewan at Toronto. That should be an interesting one. Toronto's at home. They
Yeah,
should
you
be
wonder if they're
favored.
going to bring Chad Kelly back into the fold for starting the quarterback, but
I don't know if they want that kind of distraction right now, but guess
no.
we'll have to see. And then Hamilton at Winnipeg. Winnipeg coming off
Oh
the big win, and BC
man,
will be favored for that one. And then before we get to our game, Edmonton at Montreal.
on Sunday, that's gonna. I
I
think
don't think there's
that.
much doubt about that one.
Well, I mean, Montreal has been, a bit lucky in a few of their wins. I mean, I
True.
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Edmonton actually comes out with a win here. I mean, well, Edmonton's on a 3-game winning streak. I mean, they're fighting for their lives right now, and Montreal's just sitting in their ivory tower atop the whole league at God 9-1, right? I just
And
uh,
then finally BC and Ottawa, which is, a preview for the Touchdown Pacific game a week from
2 weeks.
Saturday.
Yeah.
So basically 2 weeks from now. And BC will not be favored in that one because, they're got a worse record. They're on the road. They've been playing poorly lately. BC will be the underdogs for that one, and I say deservedly so. But you know what? Underdog status is not a bad thing for the Lions. We've thrived in the past, so I can see it
Oh
happening
yeah, a
again.
lot. Yeah, 2006 Grey Cup with the big example, and then of course 2011. That was they roared back to win the Grey Cup in that one, and then yeah, there was definitely a few seasons where yeah, yeah, BC were the underdogs and they pulled out wins when they really shouldn't have. But yeah, but yeah, this one is yeah. I mean if BC is gonna get out of the funk, I mean it has to be now. Like it has to be like in time for Touchdown Pacific. Like we want to be 6-5 coming into the Touchdown Pacific game that we're going to be going to, right? But yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
They
for
go and
that
try.
game, wait, no, but for that game, yeah, you're gonna get the full slate of us, right? Like Hammer's gonna be back to watch this game. I mean, who knows? Maybe him being back here. I mean, that'll. I mean, what I am just trying to. I'm doing everything in my power possible just to will the Lions to be back to their winning ways, right? Just whatever happened in that Saskatchewan game, it just needs to be gone, right? Just
Yeah, it'll be.
some
I
hex.
I
If
think
it's
I
Trevor
think by then
Harris.
they'll. I think by then they'll have worked it out because if they come down to Victoria, this huge game, and completely, crap the bed, that's not going to look good. So I'm confident that they can get things worked out by then, or at least, better.
But yeah, they'll play a lot better. But again, I guess we'll just see these home and home. I mean, I mean, road games haven't been too pretty to BC's lately. So, but yeah, yeah, that's gonna be it for us. I mean, we're getting the socials now, so that's
Yeah, as
I
usual
I
on
yeah, I was doing the socials in the last episode, and I did forget to do it, so I kind of clipped it in a little bit, but
that's all
it's
right.
that's your wheelhouse now.
Oh, I got it. So on Instagram and on X, formerly known as Twitter, I will always call it Twitter, does not X, at Section 14
214.
Podcast, or Section 214 Podcast, yeah. On YouTube at Section 214 BC Lions Podcast, and our email is sectiontwofourteen@gmail.com.
Yeah, there you go. Well, new, I had to correct you in the beginning, but yeah, so, uh, yeah. So, I mean, that's, yeah, man.
Yes,
We'll,
that'll be it.
yeah, yeah, we'll be back on Sunday. So, yeah, we'll see you then.
All right,
See
bye.
ya.